Third from the top, Meat Boy, this should be an absolute banger. We got the Reaper, Robert Whittaker, taking on Dricus Du Plessis, and I'm curious to think if this is a still lock for Whittaker against Du Plessis, who, even though he takes a lot of damage and seems to be in dangerous spots in his UFC run thus far, he keeps emerging with victories, and it's not always the sexiest. Sometimes it's pretty sloppy, and it seems like he's breathing heavy and has nothing left, but Dricus manages to keep getting finishes, and I mean, it's not just wins, right? He's getting finishes, so you have to give the guy some credit in that respect. And of the 5 wins that he's picked up in the UFC, he has a performance of the night against Trevin Giles and a fight of the night over Darren Till. And while yes, Darren Till was kind of a shell of himself, and you can kind of make an argument that Derek Brunson most recently also sort of was, Dricus looked good in those matchups and showcased his well-rounded skill set and why he just had so much hype coming into the UFC. I mean, this guy was a KSW champion. He was the EFC middleweight champion. The guy had a lot of success pre-UFC, and a lot of people were singing his praises for a while, but he's taking on Robert Whittaker, and Whittaker we know as a guy who, unless you're Israel Adesanya, it's basically impossible to beat you. I mean, he had the early UFC losses. Court McGee comes to mind, got finished by Wonderboy Thompson, but since then, I mean, the guy only picks up win after win. He doesn't get a lot of finishes, at least not in the last couple of years. I mean, he hasn't really picked up a finish since 2017 when he was able to sleep Jacare as a dog, but Whittaker just does everything perfectly. He has no holes, and he's a tough guy to put out himself. So what are your thoughts on this one where Dricus, I don't think Dricus has a path to victory unless he gets a finish. Whittaker, meanwhile, though, is pretty difficult to finish. So do you think that DDP picks up the finish in this one, or is this still locks for Robert Whittaker?
Yeah, I think this is still locks for Robert Whittaker. Bobby Knuckles is kind of the go of, the 185ers other than Izzy, and he's been showing it time and time again. He just doesn't lose unless it's Israel Adesanya. That being said, Dricus is just so bad that this is one of those fights where he actually might win. He just seems to never lose, just show how bad he is in a fight, but yet always wins. And people, are very discrediting him. Look at the odds. They show it, right there on the paper. I don't even have to tell you guys that people don't think he's going to win, but I think he has a pretty good chance purely because of his skill set. Somehow gasses, but yet has infinite gas. Somehow out grits everyone, almost gets knocked out, but then the opponent gets knocked out. Somehow is the worst grappler, but yet out grapples every opponent. Worst striker in UFC history, but yet outstrikes everyone in the UFC. With that being said, Bobby is built different. He should get it done, but it's not going to surprise me if, Dricus Du Plessis gets it done because he's just so bad. He probably wins. I got to take Bobby, but Dricus probably wins, probably.
Yeah, I love the characterization because it's so true, right? I mean, Dricus Du Plessis is just very bad at everything, yet he just outbads everyone and somehow is good at the end. It's quite the Dricus Du paradox, and against the Reaper, I mean, he's going to have to be very bad in order to pick up a win against him, because the Reaper, I feel like, is just, like you said, if you're not Izzy Adesanya, then it's tough to beat you, so perhaps Dricus is the wild card of wild cards to be able to do so, but if we look at Tapology, they sort of reflect what the odds makers see. 87% rolling with the Reaper, about half and half. I was a little bit surprised to see all of that brown for a Whittaker KO, just given the fact we haven't seen him finish the sandwich in the last couple of years, but nonetheless, slight majority going for that beige decision, which I think is probably the play. I think Whittaker likely wins a decision in this one, and 13% is rolling with Still Knox, and there's a lot of brown, so I'm kind of with that in the sense that I don't think that there's a world where Still Knox wins a decision in this one. Maybe I'll be surprised because I often am when it comes to a Dricus Du Plessis contest. So because I'm putting out in the universe that there's no world where Dricus wins a decision, he'll probably win a decision, but I'm not seeing it, Meat Boy, and I think this is going to be still locks for Whittaker, and I'm even going to go out and say I don't think this fight's going to be competitive. I think that I don't want to call it the lucky run of Dricus comes to an end, because the guy's obviously skilled. He does a lot of things well, but I just think that this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, and I think that Dricus Du Plessis is getting run over by the Reaper. So I'm taking the Reaper. Going to go by decision, though, because maybe he survives and it's a little bit closer than I envisioned. But Reaper all the way. Last thoughts?
No, 100% agree with you on that. Don't look how much who you taking, Still Knox or the Reaper?